Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Scott Kidd, recording episode now number 10, which is absolutely amazing. And man, I'm excited about today's episode because I've been thinking about this for a while. Actually, been probably doing this for about the last 2 years, thinking about the last lecture of my life. Like, what would the eulogy look like? What would Eddie Austin be um, remembered as, and then every step of the way, making sure that I'm marching towards that direction of the last lecture.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this as well. I'm Scott Kidd, and I'm glad to be here with my good friend Eddie Austin. It's always a pleasure. It's hard to believe we've already done 10 of these, and
Man,
like we both say, we're just getting started. It seems like
it is, man.
this
We
is
are
just
just getting started.
tip of the iceberg here because
Yeah.
just keeps getting better and better. And I was I've been thinking about this since last week when we were talking about it on, eulogy and stuff. And I wrote a couple of them early in the morning when I did it, just kind of whatever came out. And,
Mm-hmm.
I was on a podcast earlier today and I talked to a friend of mine and he said, I was telling him about what we're doing about the eulogy and everything. He said, well, maybe you think about it this too. It's like, maybe what would you like your kids to say about you? And I was like, really? I was like, because it's a different conversation when I think about myself and stuff. So I
Yeah.
started thinking about that, and and the things that I kept coming up with is there was three words that kept resonating that I wanted to be remembered for was he lived, he loved, and he laughed.
Mm. Yep.
and
I
and
love
it,
that.
and it kept coming because when people think of me, and I don't want people to be sad that I've passed or anything, because it's just another part of your existence. You go on to the next level and the next
Mm-hmm.
thing, and regardless of whatever you believe, it things keep going regardless of whether you're here or not. But
Yeah.
um, I wanted people to say, hey, he lived. Oh boy, did he live? Yeah, he
Yeah.
lived. He did everything that he said he wanted to do, and he did so much for others. He loved others. And he was always good to keep people laughing, good times or bad. And with that laughter and that love for life, he filled everybody else up and
Mm-hmm.
brought a lot of value to other people and made sure that they lived too.
Yeah. I think that's what's really important is how do you measure as you're going through life, making sure that you're going to be remembered that way.
Hmm.
And, I think genuine, just being genuine
Hmm.
is usually the best way to be remembered. You can't fake it that long, right? Your people say fake it till you make it.
Make it, yeah, that
But, that's not really true because people remember you through the times that you were upset, the times you were sad, how you recovered from being upset or sad, and, just how you were in general. And, I definitely never wanted to be the guy that, well, that dude always had a long face. He never cracked a joke. He never cracked a smile. That's not you, um, for sure. And I think it's really important to think about, you know, and how do you measure this quicker than, at the casket, right?
Hmm.
You know, what are the steps you're taking to make sure that you're remembered this way? I'll
Yeah.
never forget being in a conference one time and listen to Ed Mylett, talk about, meeting that person that you were supposed to be.
Oh yes.
And, that was really impactful to me immediately. I was like, man, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to recognize the person that I was created to be. I definitely don't want to be creating something outside God. I
Hmm.
want to be picking up my cross and not selfishly looking at myself, but just following him and doing the right things throughout my journey. But at the same time, man, how do I really lean into this and every single day?
Hmm.
I've had people just recently, I had just a couple of people come up to me from a real estate meetup that I got to speak at here this week. And they said, man, you left the room with a breath of fresh air. Like you
Nice.
left everybody with a lot to think about. And man, you definitely make people think bigger. No doubt about that. And I realized that, and I thought, that right there is what somebody might say about me, or my kids might say about me, is if there was one guy that would join a room that would light that room up and just be infectious with energy, that was my dad.
Oh, nice.
If there was one guy that came in there and there was no question whether he was telling the truth. He's just a high integrity guy. If he said he's going to be there, everything Eddie did was how he does anything is how he does everything,
Yeah.
man. Every single step of the way.
Yeah, and because it's how you show up, and I know definitely if you say you're going to be there, you're going to be there, and that's the way I've always lived my life is I just keep showing up till you start growing up, things start showing up in your life, and it's all because you made that intention and you have that integrity that and integrity is contagious as well because it if you have a lot of integrity, it kind of strives other people to be that
Oh
way.
yeah, yeah, a
It
hundred
really
percent.
does. You
Yeah,
know, and you can be that. Nobody wants to be around that person with that long face. You want to be that lighthouse
right.
that guides people home, that guides people away from the rocks, that shines a light where so bright that everybody knows where they're going and they can take guidance from that.
Yeah. Well, I think I've definitely been around. We've had a ton of this conversation around who you surround yourself with and all that stuff. And when you really think about it, you want to be that advocate. And if
Hmm.
and if you really are thinking about every single person that you come in contact with. If we really lean into this last lecture and really think about that people are going to think of you in a certain way and remember you. I had somebody tell me one time, Eddie, how do you want to be remembered? And that same person says, what would your last lecture look like? What would you tell people, the younger generation, as you're about to hit the age expirement? You're
Yeah,
about to expire on life. What would you tell the younger crowd? And I would say, man, just live.
yeah,
Just live. Go through life unapologetically. Never hurt anybody along the way. Strive to do great big things, like you said when we started out.
hmm,
Talking about, hey, go for it. Think big because it could work out. You
yeah,
know, And I really believe that, and I believe in trying everything you can. Just don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt
yeah,
anybody mentally or physically, but just go for it.
yeah. If you're living with that integrity and you're going for it, because before we started, I was talking about it when I had Dr. Hardy on my podcast, and he was saying, "Don't think small because it just might work out." And that hit me like a ton of bricks because like I remember when I was younger, I thought really small and it worked out because it was easy. I wasn't challenging myself. I wasn't, and maybe I didn't know anybody any better because I wasn't exposed. I didn't have those five people around that were going to challenge me and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You can do so much more. Why are you slacking and everything?" But that last lecture, your eulogy, it's important that you live from that future person now.
Mhm.
If I want to be that person that's remembered that he lived, he loved, and he laughed, I got to be that person now. There's no reason for me not to be,
Right.
and some simple concepts, but can be very difficult to live by if you're out of whack or out of alignment with what your true self is. Because
Mhm.
if I want to live that life, I have to make those decisions and those choices that support that. I have to put those people around me that I can love and that will love me and regardless, and we can laugh together and live that life and grow together.
Mhm.
And people will know that. And the more you live that way, people will say, like we've said many times before, it's like, oh, I can get behind that. I can get with that. That's that's definitely something that I want to be around, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, think about some great people that has left us with amazing books to read, and also people that left us with amazing quotes that that we read all the time or reference to. You think about those guys, and me personally, I often think they almost had to leave that led their life by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they knew that they weren't going to live forever, but they were going to write these impactful quotes and books and stuff like that. And you think about, Andrew Carnegie, you think about Henry Ford, you think about Steve Jobs, and, all these people. My favorite, of course, is Napoleon Hill. He's read or
Mm-hmm.
wrote many books that were extremely impactful and helpful for me. And just thinking about that, you almost think that almost every day they had to like wake up and go, I'm going to pick up the pen and I'm going to lock myself in the room and I'm going to write these next few chapters. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that if I could get people to think differently, I'm just going to share my 2 cents on this. I think about my life every day. When I get up, I'm like, today I'm going to make a difference because somebody else might be watching or reading my story. This is a part of the journey. Like I posted that funny looking picture with me running with the
Yeah,
pen the
yeah, I
other
love
day.
that one. That was a good one. That
Yeah,
that caught my eye there because that's something we talk about quite a bit is
yeah,
writing your own story.
right. And that's the thing. I think that really we are writing our own eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just writing it on paper so somebody will read it. It's also that lasting impression.
Yeah,
Like every time we meet those people, we go to these conferences and we meet these people. Think about that when you're engaging these conversations, man. And I'm not saying be fake.
yeah,
What I'm saying is be genuine, but ask yourself, is this conversation I'm getting ready to be engaged in, how do I want to be remembered?
yeah. I think it's definitely everything you're talking about is getting up and living with intention. It's my intention to live that story, to be
Yeah.
that story,
Mm-hmm.
to have everything that comes with that story by being intentional,
Mm-hmm.
having the intent to get up every day, say, "Hey, I'm going to make a difference for somebody," and just by doing that, that's one you're in alignment, within integrity with yourself by saying, "Hey, we're doing this," and even if your brain feels down or what have you, you get up and you start doing it. Your brain will kick in and go, "Okay, we're
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
All right, here we go again." Eddie Austin day number whatever. He's he's not stopping.
Yeah.
I guess I'm
Yeah.
not either.
Yeah. And I think that what really got me thinking about this was I had heard somebody talk about when I pass, I want to know that they can't fit everybody in a football stadium, to come to the viewing of my funeral.
Mhm,
And it's because they just left so much impact on every person
mhm.
they come across. And I really started to adapt that. It's not like I'm trying to go just absolutely above and beyond, but I'm just at the end of the day, if there's somebody out there I can help, if there's somebody that I can have a conversation with, or even through social media every single day, I'm posting exactly this. It's this is who I am, this
Mhm,
is how I can help you, and this is what I do.
mhm.
And I'm just reminding people every single day that, hey, I'm Eddie Austin. This
I'm
is what
here.
I do, and this is how I can help you. And at the end of the day, all I want is to help as many people as possible. I want to be able to go to the Dallas Cowboys stadium with a casket and they can't fit them all. There's limos and passenger cars all the way around the stadium because there's one thing about me. I helped a ton of people along the way, but I think I also realized I don't feel like you can get what you want until you help somebody get what they want.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think that was a Zig Ziglar quote that he
Yeah.
said, "It's easy to get what you want. Just help everyone around you get what they want, and it'll come pretty easily." Something like that. I'm
Yeah.
probably missing a few words, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's the premise.
I saw a post recently with Denzel Washington. He said, "You don't ever see a hearse dragging a U-Haul
You sure don't.
because you can't take it with you." And he
No.
goes, "The Egyptians tried, but guess what happened? They ended
Yeah.
up in a museum, a couple thousand."
Yeah.
So that hit with me too. Is like, because I came in this world with nothing, no material possessions, and I was
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave with all of it. So, that's not what it's about for me. It's not, I don't, anybody knows me pretty well. They know I don't drive the flash car. I don't have the big house. I, I work on yachts, which is kind of I guess, I don't know what you call it, kind of a paradox, because I work in probably one of the most affluent areas of the world that you possibly could. But it's, I could take it or leave it. I don't think I'd ever buy one, but but I love working on them, and I
Yeah.
love doing that. But I see people wrapped up in a lot of material things and material possessions and chasing the money and the girls or the gambling or the drugs or just these material things that they think they're going to fill them up, but
Yeah.
it doesn't, because they're not living their true purpose. They're not living that. They don't have something that truly fills them up, like God or whatever it is, their purpose, their genuine purpose that can actually fill them up. They're not fulfilled. One, because the fulfillment and the purpose usually comes from one, gratitude and having a purpose. Because once
Yeah.
you're grateful and you're helping other people and you have a purpose, you generally don't have time to really go off onto all these other things, because you're actually living for other people and other things that are much more important, that will fill that stadium, that
Yeah.
will people will say your name when they see. One thing that I think about is when Scott Kid is gone. I want people to go, "Oh, Scott Kid," and start smiling. I want
Yeah.
them to be happy, like, I knew that guy,
Yeah.
genuine guy. you
I
know
love that,
he
man.
helped
That.
me do this, and my family. He helped me get through some things, and he was just a genuine guy.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, I know there's studies out there that show how many millionaires and billionaires have taken their life.
Hmm.
Because they arrived at this place. They arrive at this destination that they're supposed to be at. They got the material wealth, but there's nobody else to share it with.
Hmm.
And there's definitely the story of the yacht owner that's the
Yeah.
billionaire out there by the yacht or on the yacht by himself.
Yeah.
He made it. He arrived, but
Yeah.
he hurt a lot of people to get to that point, and he's got no friends left, and that's not the life that I want to live.
No, not even close. Not even close for me either, because I've seen it and I've worked for people of that nature. But what I have come to realize also is that there's as many unhappy poor people as there are um, wealthy people. It's about the same, because there's a lot of people that aren't living truly to fulfill their purpose, and there's a lot of people in between. It's about the same throughout. It's rare that you meet somebody, no matter what level of financial success or whatever, that's truly happy or truly purposeful, or living with intention. But those people that are like that, the money usually doesn't matter to them. It's because they have that purpose, and when you're living that way, all the rest of that stuff comes without you even trying for it, because
Mm-hmm.
you're there living with that true purpose, that intention that no one can give to you. You have to find that.
Yeah. So, let's give some practical thought here to some step by steps. And I know for me personally, I took out a legal pad and I got to thinking about this. Is like, these are kind of the aspirations. So this is exactly what I believe that I would be uh, wanting to achieve through life. Just accomplishments. Now, it doesn't mean that all of them are accomplishable, but there's definitely some ones that are some big striving goals.
Hmm.
But I make sure that those big striving goals are tied to also helping other people. They're not
Hmm.
self centered. they're in the alignment of, if I do these things, it helps this other crowd of people. There's something I'm doing to help these people out. So for me, step by step process is I physically sat down at a younger age, 2 years ago, and I said, so right when I hit 40 years old, and I sat down and I was like, okay, let's get serious about this life. And you said it earlier. Let's start getting intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And intentional is these are the things that I feel that is non-negotiable, that I have to be able to do because I want to help these people do it. And I figured out how to put these different things in my life to where every day I know that I'm one step closer to helping these people. So I started, I guess you'd say, a vision board. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that vision board is this is where I am. And I'll say, man, being in the poorhouse, it's expensive. It really
It's
is.
a lot of
Being
work too.
poor is
It's a lot of
expensive.
work too.
You'll work on your own vehicles. You'll work on your own house. You do everything because you just can't afford to pay anybody else, and it is expensive. I mean, it's maybe
Mm-hmm.
not money expenses, but it's expensive on you.
And it's expensive in time, and expensive. It's a lot of work. Driving that busted up car, fixing everything. Fixing the house, fixing everything, and you got no money, but your time goes away. You
Yeah,
can't work as much. It just kind of cycle keeps repeating. But you got to change the mindset and change the environment. It'll happen. It's just
yeah,
not easy.
yeah, absolutely, man. So I know for me personally, I kind of just sat down and I drew a line in the sand, and I was like, okay, from this day forward, I'm going to quit messing around, and I'm going to get hyper intentional. And I want to make sure that in every conversation, and there's some times that I engage in some conversations that it's not exactly a comfortable conversation. So at that very moment, the click goes off. Eddie, how do you want to be remembered? How do
Mm-hmm.
you want to respond to this discomforting conversation? How do you want to respond to this partnership right now? How do you want to respond to these life events, and somebody's asking you some hard questions right now? And I immediately do that. I'm like, boom. Okay, internally, Eddie, how do you want to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
And at that very moment, I choose my words wisely, because often or we were. It's very hard to be truly remembered by the good things, but you can do 1,000 good things and you do that one bad thing, and and nobody forgets about that one bad thing that you
Oh
did.
yeah,
And
most
we live in social media world today, man, where there's
every day.
people that's hunting for it. They're interviewing for it.
Yeah,
They're just hoping to find you in some
yeah,
kind of controversy
yeah,
and
and
clickbait
they
you.
thrive on it, and they thrive on it, and they want to send a message that they're the ones that get the most views from somebody else's awful situation.
Yeah.
And how you want to be remembered, you always have to think about it, because I think Bruce Lee said, be careful what you say to yourself, because all your cells are listening.
Mm,
And
I love that. I'd
they
forgot about
are
that one.
they are. So don't be nice to yourself. Tell yourself, hey, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to help people, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to get rid of all these things. After you drew that line, I'm sure you said, well, these things are going away. That's done.
Oh man,
That's done.
yeah, that's exactly it. There was definitely things that I had to start saying no to, and
Yeah,
and when I drew that line in the sand, there was definitely like, can't engage in this anymore.
yeah.
This
This is
is
done.
this is not part of it.
Yeah.
And talking in the flesh was one of them. And that's a constant practice, right? Always. I think at one point I wanted to be remembered by that guy never had anything bad to say about anybody. And when I evaluated that first and second half of that
Mhm.
journey, and the first half I couldn't say that because I had definitely engaged in and
Yeah.
some gossiping activity
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that, because it's easy. It's very
Yeah.
easy to jump in and go, oh man, yeah, that guy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's a card, and just
Yeah.
that's just a conversation, right? But
Yeah.
I would rather steer the conversation. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe that guy had some unfortunate
Yeah.
stuff going on, but man,
Yeah.
what do you think about Scott working on that new boat? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of guided into something a little more positive because, like we're saying, your cells are listening. And if you engage in that, it just puts everything in kind of a more negative light. And really, like you said, you don't know what's going on with that person. And that's one thing that I've learned is I may not be as sympathetic as I was when I was younger, but I'm a lot more empathetic to kind of figure out what somebody's story is. I'm like, oh, well, Eddie's doing that right now because he had a bunch of stuff going on with his family, so he might have lashed out. He might not have done it intentionally, but it just kind of came to the surface, and he needs to deal with it. Just give him some space.
Yeah,
Let him sort it out, and maybe go ask him if he needs some help. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I think that's it. Is the difference there is when you do hear about certain things, making that mental shift to go, rather than engaging in the conversation, say, man, sounds like that guy's down on his luck, or
yeah,
that gal's down on her luck. Man, here collectively, can you think of anything, any way we could help that person?
yeah. Yeah, and think about it, what a game changer that conversation is. Because once you say that, everyone else will, some depending on what the crowd is, but a lot of people kind of pause for a minute and look at you, and they'll go, "Oh, well, I guess we could do X, Y, and Z."
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and they're like, "Hey, yeah, well, let's go do that." And
yeah,
then think about the mood, because once you get other people in the act of giving, that's even more. That's a kind of exponential happiness because then we all did that together, and that person saw maybe that four people came over and said, "Hey, can we help you with that? We know you had your family doing that. Once you take the afternoon off or whatever, we'll cover you and you go be with them and help them sort out what needs to happen. We'll take care of this here." It's just little things like that actually steamroll and kind of snowball into like really big things because that person will remember that.
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
and then once he's going to go, "Hey, Eddie, that guy Eddie, he really helped me out, so maybe I can figure out how to help him out or help somebody he knows or something like that, or maybe pass it on, pay it forward to something else or someone else in his life."
I just want the goodness of everything that happens to just be infectious. And
Yeah,
I truly want to make a dent in this world for the good. I mean, I want to leave a lasting impression. I used to think that legacy was the yacht or the
yeah,
plane or something like that. Legacy is not that. I mean, you can certainly leave people, even wealth, is not
yeah.
really translated to, you can live a wealthy life and never own a boat.
Hmm.
You can have a wealth of just good people around you. But legacy, is something that we leave in other people. And when
Yeah.
I think about legacy, I want to think about happy legacy, that
Hmm.
legacy that just is infectious with, man, instead of engaging in negative conversations, like what could we go do to help that person
Yeah.
that's down on their luck? And like you were just explaining, like taking off the afternoon and helping them out or whatever that might be. you
Yeah.
know, I think that's the part. And I think that it's compound energy, right?
Yeah.
It's like throwing a rock in the middle of a pond and then just watching the ripple effect. And I think that if you just drop the rock in that very moment and just let it ripple out to other people,
Hmm.
and next thing you know, it's just waves of good news, man.
Hmm. Yeah, and it just shows like on that same analogy, what if you throw five rocks out at the same time?
Hmm.
Think how much that creates,
Yeah.
and that just keeps on rippling out and more different directions because I think in today's time, especially with social media and everything else, that a lot of people are more to themselves and they might not think that someone is going to help them or will help them. Um, so if you just that simple act of giving your time or something to them might turn it around for them, might do something that changes their whole perspective or their whole direction of
Yeah.
things. Like they realize that they're not alone, that there
Mhm.
are people out there. There are other options for them to do other than what they might be stuck with, and it really is comes back to the relationships. If you have great relationships in your life, you're going to live a great life.
Yeah.
You're going to have great love in your life. You're going to be happy. You're going to laugh a lot. You're going to have all those great times. So, you need to really just get out there and do that where you're living with intention that I'm going to intentionally help at least one person a day. And I always used to say that to myself, and I've gotten away from it. And I used to say that part of my morning thing when I'm writing, I'm going to help one person a day. And
Yeah.
it started to be an automatic, but I think I ended up helping more people when I said it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I think that's true, man.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was leading crews out in, the field, we were doing solar fields. We were doing all kinds of cool things out in the construction world. And when I'd lead my team in the mornings, I'd say, let's go make the world a better place. And
Yes.
everybody on that construction team or in that factory that day they knew that they were going to do their job to the best of their ability because they were going to make the world a better place. And
Nice.
the world's huge, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it really is. And to think that a crew of 5 or 6 or 30 people or even 60 people that day that was actually make the world a better place, like you got to try really hard. But they were enthusiastic to do that.
Well, and if you think about it, if everyone just got up and did one kind thing or one good deed for everyone else, that's what 8 billion good deeds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a
It's the
lot.
multiple,
It's a
right?
lot,
Yeah,
and and not to say that I'm thinking of some kind of utopian place where everything's good because it's just not in the cards that way. But it can be, or we can at least try to make it the best we can. And all we can really do is do the best we can with the things around us. And if you can't control it, there's no sense in worrying about it. Control the inputs, your inputs, what you input in your body, the thoughts you put in your head, stories you tell, what you tell yourselves, and what you tell other people. That's
hmm
the only way that you're going to make a difference.
yeah, man. That's it. And I'm reading another book right now. It's actually a Benjamin Hardy book, along with Dan Sullivan. And this morning was about putting about 3 things on your to-do list.
Yeah.
And if you're in that creative, place where you're building something new or you're putting a marketing email out, something like that, something super creative that's going to help a lot of people, time block 4 hours to do that. If you got 3 tasks, and most people, you say, I'm only doing 3 things today. Well, that 3 things most have a very high impact on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's moving the needle for not you, but for many. And
Mm-hmm.
then to take that 4 hour block and to just take that whole 4 hours and go, man, I'm going to work on this until it's right before I send it. And, like you just said it, the magical word, it's control the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many people, including my old self, that used to control every single outcome and everything. And man, it wore me out. Like I had nothing left at the end of the day. I had exhausted myself on every little fight. When the big fight was there, I couldn't fight it.
Yeah, that's where the burnout is where you don't just let things be. You try to control that those external things that are really not in your hands.
Yeah.
But if you control those things and you let the rest of it go, once you let the rest of it go, you have so much more time that you didn't realize
Oh,
you actually had.
yeah. And I think about it 2 ways. Of course, I dream to fly a fighter jet.
Ooh.
And I think about burn in and burn out. I think burnout is where you're just focusing on all these different things that are just completely out of your control. And you just get burned out on trying to carry them all. And
Mm-hmm.
you just can't. And I think burn in really is when you're in the cockpit and you're just so hyper focused on just getting this thing to go the way you want it to, and it just don't work. And you got the blinders on and you're flying at Mach 6 and you just can't get out of it, and you burn in and you crash.
Mm-hmm.
And, the number one thing that I found is if you're going to help a lot of people, you got to help yourself first. So you got to go to the gym, you got to meditate if you're in the meditating, you got to do your breathing work if you do breathing work. You got to write your affirmations if that's what you do. Like you got to outline the time block that time for you. And this really ties us in towards the back end of this episode to really get down to the brass tacks of it. If you are going to be remembered in a certain way and you're going to fill up the Dallas Cowboys stadium of people to come see you when you pass away, you got to get down to this right here. You got to say, I am only doing these things in life. I'm going to be super hyper intentional, and I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to make total sure that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I remember reading that those three things because that's kind of a scientific. There's some science behind it where if you go more than three things, then more than likely you're not going to do even two of those things because you're going to be overwhelmed with jumping around on the list. Whereas if you just have those intentional three things, your brain can handle it like, okay, that's done. Okay, now we're doing this. We just got one left, and it gives you like that tunnel vision that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel because of those three things. And I've adopted that into a lot of things I do. Like if I'm doing this part of my day is those three things. That's this part, these three things, like in the morning I do my morning routine, breath work and all that stuff. And then after that I do some stuff to set up for social media. In the afternoon I do like podcasts and phone calls and video calls. I just do those three and that's it. I don't do anything else. And then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else. That's family time. That's what we do.
And you really got to stay just super charged up, man. Like if you're going to make a dent in this world, you got to put yourself first. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really do. You got to make sure that you have the energy, you got the right mindset. You're walking past the mirror and going, dang, I've put in the work, man. You got to, I'm not talking like self-love, like egotistically, but you got to have a little self-love. Like you got to know that, that you like yourself. Like you got one person to ride or die with, right? So you better like him.
You got to have confidence. The big ego and stuff that'll just probably get you standing in front of the mirror a little too long,
a little too much flex.
Yeah, a little too much there. So you need to, you need to be able to say, all right, hey, good job. You're doing great, man. And you do need to keep your body clean, keep your mind clean, because once your mind is relaxed, it's proven that you're more creative. You can come up with those solutions. You can focus on those intentional actions, intentional 3 actions that you're going to do. You do those, and then you're done for the day, and then you can relax into the next day where you get up and do it again, because tomorrow comes again and again and again. Until it's over, and then they want you to be there filling up that stadium. So you got to be intentional, living with that intention to get there.
Yeah. So, man, I think this is a great place to, round us out here. And, I got to say how grateful I am to have spent this time, with you week over week and recording now 10 episodes, and it seems like it was a blink of an eye.
It really has, and I truly know that we're just getting started. And it was funny because I was thinking about this the other day when we were at the conference there. And, I was thinking about our conversations and thinking about doing a series on these mindset stuff. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to think about it. I was like, yeah, let's do
it, man.
Let's do it. And
we're nearing here the launch of these episodes, and we're going to launch here with putting them on our already established YouTube channels, but getting ourselves into a place where it's going to have its own standalone channel
Definitely.
or whatever that
Yeah.
is, for people to be able to follow this kind of inner compass. And I think that people have to identify with that. And our dream here is that you identify with this kind of inner compass. And
Mhm.
Scott, what does the inner compass really represent?
Well, for me, the inner compass is really just finding that purpose, that true north that guides you in the direction, guides you towards that last lecture, guides you from that last lecture to where it just gives you everything you need to live that life that you want. For
Yeah,
me, it's hey, Scott Kidd, he lived, he loved, and he laughed, and that's what that's what's going to be my guidance. The inner compass is really what gives you your purpose and your guidance.
I love it, man. Amen. Well, Scott, where can people find you, buddy?
They can find me at investwithscottkid.com. Has all my social media, the Yacht Captain Investor podcast, and soon to be the Inner Compass, Finding Your True North podcast as well. And all the other links affiliated with me and everyone that I'm really grateful to be involved with. And I'm really grateful for this too. This charges me up. We've been doing it on Fridays and stuff, and it sets me up for the weekend and
Yeah.
family time and everything else. Makes me reflect on a lot of great things that I have going in my life, and that we're just getting started.
Oh, we are, man. I just can't tell you how excited I am. I think that it's starting to really show how excited I really am getting internally and externally. It's kind of a light beacon shining out
Yeah,
there like that lighthouse. But Eddie Austin BEX here. You can go to eddieaustinbex.com. All my social medias are there as well. You can book a 15-minute call with me. You can join community. Any links and everything I do, it's on that page. And then same social media picture on all of them, Eddie Austin BEX. Look, all we want you to do is share this with somebody else. We truly are doing this because we want to make an impact and we want to impact lives. And man, it would be so awesome for somebody to walk up to us in the next conference we're at and say, man, I've been listening to the Inner Compass podcast and it changed my life.
yeah,
That would be amazing.
yeah. Definitely would be just for anyone to come up and say, "Hey, that had an impact," and it changed a lot of things for me. So
Yeah.
I would be really happy to hear that.
Well, everyone, we'll see you on the next one. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode, episode 11.
Nice.